If I was listening to live, I'd be screaming at the TV or my phone. The merry-go-round, the playing of the games by Dr. Welcher, he wasn't answering questions.
This is my thoughts. Okay? I got to keep my medicines and my blood pressure medication, all this stuff because of this frustrating testimony and watching this shit. This guy is unfreaking believable.
You didn't have any dog in the hunt. You recall that statement in the beginning of your direct testimony.
You misquoted me. I don't have any dog in the fight.
You don't
It's amazing what he can remember and what he can't remember.
have any dog in the fight.
Correct.
Thank you. Now, switching topics.
Okay.
You submitted
Mike,
an updated
He's writing notes.
presentation.
Yeah, he did write notes there. Yeah, more notes.
You submitted an updated PowerPoint presentation and discussed it in terms of testimony.
Bingo. Yahtzee. Don't pass go. I mean, that was huge right there. Listen to his answer.
So, A, it ultimately was left off. B, because it was insignificant and I didn't need to have it. So the way it got presented was exactly the way it was before May 13th. So it didn't change anything.
But it was significant enough for you to make a change to your presentation, correct?
So my goal is to be as accurate as possible. So when I saw the path that I gave, the way she could drive, I gave the possible paths. That was one of the possible paths that hadn't originally been included. So in striving to be as accurate as possible, including as much information as I could, I wanted to make sure I included that.
The clip that you used to make the change, you say you made the change based upon a clip you observed with regard to Ms. Reed. Is that correct?
I believe that, yes, that is correct.
Yeah, I believe.
Do you know that clip has been in existence for months?
I don't believe I got it until April.
He's looking on his laptop now.
So a clip that has been, assume the clip's been in existence for months.
Shit. So he's actually typing on the keyboard and looking down at his laptop.
He's got a paper there too. I don't know if it's the keyboard or the paper. He's flipping pages.
If you look at his right arm here, he's typing on the laptop and he is looking down at this laptop. Now,
Regardless of what he's doing, either typing or looking at the paper, he shouldn't be doing any of this. He was already warned to stop this.
You just got the clip.
Dr. Welcher, I have to ask you
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
to.
I'm trying to be.
see, she saw him. She's,
Yeah.
elevated. So she sees him. Dr. Welcher, I know you want to do this, and I am on your side because I'm on the side of the Commonwealth. But I got to ask you to stop doing it. It's just I can't have it.
What a maroon. What an ignoramus.
It's too blatant.
Let me close it. Sorry. I was trying to answer his question.
Gotta go back.
I'm going to ask you to close the top.
Watch this.
I believe that, yes, that is correct.
This hand right here.
Do you know that clip has been in existence for months?
There it goes.
I don't believe I got it until April.
It's on the keyboard.
So a clip that has been in, assume the clip's been in existence for months.
He's looking down.
You just got the clip.
Dr. Welcher, I have to ask you
Oh, I'm
not
sorry.
to.
I'm trying to be helpful.
Close your
Yeah,
computer.
well, let me close it.
It's
Sorry. I was trying to answer his question.
If he,
I'm going to
I was
ask.
trying to answer his question with aid of my laptop and people sending me data through my laptop.
yes,
Whatever's on.
yes. People emailing me while I'm testifying live, or I have my Zoom open.
Mr. Alessi's speaking to him. He's not even looking at him. He's not even looking at the jury. He's looking down at that device that nobody else is allowed to bring up on the stand. No other witnesses were able to bring a freaking laptop. This guy was controlling PowerPoint.
Yeah, they got to stop that too. None of this more PowerPoint testimony. That's bullshit.
That's probably a good idea.
Just let, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. So assume the clip that you said was the basis for changing your PowerPoint on May 13th after the trial started had been in existence for months. You just got that clip, you say, in April?
I believe so, yes.
What was tell me the circumstances by which you got the clip. Did you ask for it?
I was told there was a new interview.
Okay. Who initiated the conversation about the new interview?
I don't know if it was Mr. Brannon. Yes, I wouldn't have known about it.
Exactly. So somebody affirmatively communicated with you when about this clip?
I need to look, but I remember it being about mid-April,
Mid-April.
if I'm thinking of the correct clip.
What were you asked to do?
When I got the clip, I wasn't asked to do anything. So they then indicated there was this suggestion of an alternative route. So then I looked at the alternative route description and added the alternative route.
So it was suggested to you by the prosecution that, and they pointed out that there was an alternative route they wanted you to look at?
So I took it to be, we have additional evidence. Please look at the additional evidence and add it to your analysis.
You do, if you have witness statements, yes, you do review them, and you put it in the back of your mind. And then when you're doing your experiments and everything, you try to see if you can verify what is being said. Is it true or is it not true? Is it matching what the science and the testing is telling me, or is it just hogwash, right? I mean, because we all know that witnesses always tell us the truth, right?
Exactly.
And does anybody believe that his father told him not to be a doctor because it's not worth it? All right. I mean, and the way oh my God, there's another thing that blew my mind. And he said, oh, we haven't, he's about to get cross-examined by Alessi. And he just takes it upon himself to start a conversation with Alessi from the witness box. Oh, we haven't been formally introduced.
Yeah, that was the beginning. That was.
What's your name? Yeah. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Morning, Dr. Welcher.
Good morning. We haven't been formally introduced. Your whole name?
Robert Alessi, sir.
Robert Alessi. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. The one that you went over on your direct examination. You created that presentation quite recently, correct, sir?
The updated one was where I had redacted or taken out slides. So in terms of taking out slides, I did add one alternative path a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he uses the word path. Okay, that's another thing. He was very confusing with this because it made it sound like, he should have used the word route, because he was talking about the driving routes that were possible, because they still don't know what routes Karen Read drove back to John O'Keefe's house from the Albert's house. So he uses path, but he should have used route.
Updated presentation. We'll get to the changes later, but the updated presentation you created just how many days ago?
I'm going to say weeks ago.
Weeks? 2 weeks?
I don't actually know without looking at the documents.
Unfrequently gives forensics a total black eye. I'm so disgusted with him. Okay, and the nonsense that he's pulling. This isn't science. This isn't even engineering. I don't know what this guy is doing. He's doing a dog and pony show. Okay, he's when you don't got nothing, you dazzle him with bullshit. Okay,
and it seemed like there was a whole huge pile of bullshit, Ed. Just unbelievable. It was frustrating for us as professionals. Could you imagine the regular layperson and the jury? I'm thinking of the jury here. They had to have been like, what in God's name is going on? Why doesn't this guy answer a question? What are they trying to hide that he can't outright answer a question? And Alessi, he was asking questions very precisely. He was trying to be precise in the questions he was asking him, but he kept making it difficult. Ed, let me see what you got.
9 pages worth of notes from this asshole's testimony. Okay. Unfreaking believable. Whatever certifications he has, he should have them removed. Okay. There was a whole lot of testimony about bias, confirmational bias, and all these other things. He is the epitome of bias, what he did. Okay. He took the word of the police officers about where things were found and how they were found, with no documentation, no chain of custody, nothing to back up any of this. All right. And he just focused in on that one theory. And he didn't even talk about the damage to the hoodie. Yeah, he went out and bought all the clothing to match Officer John O'Keefe's clothing that he wore that night, which was freaky cosplay. Okay. But he didn't look at those damage on that shirt properly to assess that there were circular entrance and elliptical, elongated exits. The entrances went in, pushing the fibers in. The elongated elliptical exits pulled the fibers out as it exited. There is nothing on that tail light that was remaining that could have caused that to occur, and the injuries to his arms, which he tried to do. Then he has the balls to insult the medical examiners in this case. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all saw that, but that, that had me pulling my hair out of my head. And
To
if
show, in this case, primarily the location of the lacerations up on the arm, the upper part of the arm, and that they match up with the locations of at least the one remaining shard in the rear tail light of Mr. E's Lexus. So this is just showing his jacket he was wearing, that the puncture marks coincide to the marks on his arm. From the autopsy report, a couple things it notes: a 0.5 centimeter abrasion on his right lateral knee. He's got a laceration on his right eyelid that corresponds to the height of that thin rear wind wing. I suppose if you had just your hand on the very, very corner, potentially.
But you didn't do any of that force analysis for this case, did you?
For the hand, no.
But you did it for the head, correct?
Correct. Because that I'm able to quantify.
You are aware, Dr. Welcher, that Mr. O'Keefe suffered no fractures of any kind in his hand, correct?
So there were no fractures noted in the autopsy report, but they didn't actually x-ray, from the records I've seen, either his hand or his arm. So there was, at least according to the autopsy report, no overt fractures, but the x-rays I saw, none of them were the arm, and the autopsy report said no sternum, spine, I think it said torso. They didn't say that there were no fractures there.
Was there any evidence in the medical records that you reviewed of any indication whatsoever of a fracture in Mr. O'Keefe's hand?
No.
Was there any indication whatsoever in any of the medical records you reviewed that there was a fracture of any bone in the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe?
Not that I saw. Again, it wasn't x-rayed.
Was there any indication in the medical records and the autopsy that you say you reviewed of any fracture of any bone anywhere in the body of Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes.
Other than the occipital bone or the skull?
There's a couple bones in the skull that were fractured, but other than the skull, no.
Correct. So, are you aware that medical examiner for the state of Massachusetts, Dr. Shorty Bello, performed an autopsy on Mr. O'Keefe? Are you aware of that?
Yes.
And you're aware of it because you read the autopsy report, correct?
Correct.
Are you implying, and it's a question, that Dr. Shorty Bello missed a fracture or didn't look properly for a fracture?
No. I'm simply indicating that, for example, a hairline fracture, I didn't see any evidence that they actually x-rayed the structure, so there would be no overt evidence of that.
There were wounds on the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe, correct?
Correct.
And you are saying that the medical examiner should have x-rayed that to determine whether there was a hairline fracture? Is that your testimony?
No, you're asking me about evidence and proof of absence of fracture. So I would look for an x-ray to see if that was the case. I haven't seen any evidence of an x-ray of the arms.
So it's your position that on every autopsy, there should be an x-ray of every bone in the body, and that the clinical judgment of the medical examiner should not be accepted, and there should be an x-ray of every bone before a conclusion can be drawn that there's no fracture to a bone in the body of the deceased. Is that your testimony?
Absolutely not. Like, I'm an engineer. You're asking me about proof. And so proof is somebody looked at it, somebody took an x-ray, somebody palpated it and found a comminuted fracture. So we're talking about proof.
Sir.
Ask me about the opinion of a medical examiner. I'm not a medical.
Only one person at a time. Mr. Alessi, let him finish, and then you can ask the question.
Your Honor, I hadn't finished my question.
Okay, then finish your question, Dr. Welcher. Wait for the question. Then let Dr. Welcher respond. It's a nightmare for Madam
I
Court
understand.
reporter.
I think I've been doing that, but I'll redouble my efforts. Dr. Welcher, I didn't use proof in my question. I'm going to repeat the question. Is there any indication in any medical record, autopsy report of the deceased of any fracture of any bone?
That was not your original question, but to answer your question, no, except for the skull.
Except for the skull.
Correct.
Do you understand whether the absence of any fractures other than the skull of Mr. O'Keefe was of significance to the medical examiner, Dr. Scorti-Bello, in the conclusion she reached in the autopsy report that you read?
System.
Did you read the conclusions of Dr. Scorti-Bello in the autopsy?
I believe so.
Are you aware of whether Dr. Scorti-Bello has analyzed whether the injuries to Mr. O'Keefe are inconsistent or consistent with a motor vehicle impact? Are you aware of any analysis to that effect?
So I'm going to see you on this one.
That had me pulling my hair out of my head. Any further with this trial, I'm going to end up looking like Ron.
Yeah, well, that might not be a bad look for you. It was a slippery slope that Dr. Welcher went on when that part of the testimony happened, because Alessi, he homed in on that and he did some backpedaling. But it was also interesting to me that Ed, he was keeping his laptop open. He had that.
Oh my God.
And I mean, lifeguard Bev, who usually doesn't come to the aid of the defense, she kept telling him, look, you got to shut this stuff down.
Robert Alessi started his cross focusing on the importance of being objective, asking Dr. Welcher about confirmation bias when someone selectively gathers evidence to confirm a theory.
An example of confirmation bias is not considering alternative hypotheses.
Alessi narrowed in on Welcher's testimony that John O'Keefe wouldn't necessarily have had any broken bones or injuries to his lower extremities after potential impact with Reed's SUV. But later in the day, Alessi pointed out the report Welcher used about common injuries and pedestrian strikes is 46 years old. Welcher multiple times on the stand today acknowledging that key piece of data missing, like in this exchange about the height of the spoiler on Reed's SUV.
We don't know his exact body position at the point of impact, nor do we know the exact position on the ground. So, which is part of the reason why I haven't tried to exactly simulate this.
But keep in mind, fewer than 24 hours ago, the doctor testified about dressing like O'Keefe, buying a replica of Reed's car, and doing a simulation, something he called the blue paint test. Alessi took aim at another missing component of that test.
You didn't do a blue paint test with the vehicle going at 20 miles per hour, correct?
That is correct. I was not going to hit myself with a Lexus at 20 miles an hour.
You could have done other tests where the vehicle was going at 20 miles per hour if you used a crash test dummy, correct? You could have done that.
If you use the right crash test dummy, and then to set up the test, you have to know everything about the parameters. And so, again, pedestrian impacts are so very sensitive to initial angles. If I were to do a test and it was off a tiny, tiny bit and we got some different results, I would be in here having to defend it. Well, your own testing didn't show it. Point is we don't have enough information to be able to conduct that testing.
Well, he said this numerous times today. Well, guess what? If you don't have enough information to conduct these tests, then you also don't have enough information to give an opinion, a definitive opinion, as you did yesterday, on how this happened. All right, so knock the bullshit off.